Welcome to Season 2 of The Shift, Stories of Resistance and Resilience, a multi-platform conversation series produced and hosted by me, Mark Charles Rivera, the professional storyteller. I believe that stories have the power to change the world. Through honest conversations and powerful storytelling, we explore how people challenge systems, shift narratives, and transform culture, creating a more inclusive, just, and liberated world in our lives and in our work. Here on this podcast, you'll hear from changemakers, truth tellers, and community builders who are using their voices and their stories to move us forward. So if you believe in the power of storytelling to spark change, you're in the right place. Listen closely, take notes, recognize our shared humanity. This is The Shift. Hey y'all, welcome back to The Shift. Today, I am with someone extremely special. I've had to work to become friends with plenty of folks in my life, but no one made me work harder for our friendship than today's guest. When I tell you he is one of the most specialist, coolest people I know, that is not an exaggeration. I'm going to try not to cry because I have a lot of makeup on and the interview is just starting. But he's one of my favorite humans on the planet, and he's our guest today on The Shift. Currently, Rigness Rush helps design health-centered spaces and creates engagement activations rooted in social justice, health literacy, and equity. He continues emphasizing the importance of fostering community insight, translates research and scientific data into social marketing initiatives. He combines empathy, intuition, and creativity to retool programs and efforts, making them more culturally informed, sustainable, and profitable. Recent campaigns he has driven include Stand Against Hate campaign, aimed at fostering accountability and action through disruptive messaging, and the We the People campaign, which boasted inclusion and equity by creating space for honest engagement and alignment across cultural, racial, and equitable lines of division. Outside of work, Rigness travels the world constantly learning and engaging with people. He strives to develop a heightened sense of global awareness and activism, built on a foundation of empathy and LGBTQ visibility and representation. He is also one of my dearest friends. Welcome, Rig. So he goes by Rig in everyday life. So you may hear me say Rig, Rigness. I use them interchangeably in this conversation. Hey, Rig.
What's going on? And it doesn't matter. I respond to much anything you call me as long as it's done with love.
Always with love here. Sometimes a little shade, but always with love.
Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for saying yes. I know how busy you are. This man stays on the go. We're neighbors, but you wouldn't even know that because he's on the road. He's literally my down the street neighbor. We live on the same street, which is ironic given how we met and how our world intersected with Daniel. Daniel was a guest on The Shift. His episode has already dropped by the time you hear this one. And so I met Rig separately, but then it was when we realized that we had Daniel as a mutual friend that Rig began to soften to me. But it took a couple of years before the softness, you have to earn your friendship with Rig. It's not just given. I'm a social butterfly. I have given myself and became a friend with people who didn't deserve to even exist in my orbit. So I actually really, really appreciate that about you because I wish I embodied that naturally. And you do it with such intention. And so, y'all, I knew I made it when I went to his house. I done made it, y'all. Made it. Forget the Emmy, forget the talk show award I hope to get one day in the future. I made it in life because I got to see Rig's place. Hi, friend. I'm so dramatic.
I'm just set up. I feel like people think I'm a monster now.
No, not a monster. Never a monster. Never. You're selective. You're selective, and you are intentionally. You screen people, and I think that given the state of the world, given the fact that you're an empath, given your proximity and the things that you do, you need to be more selective. I'm learning that now, and you actually are one of those people that made me realize I needed to be more selective. Because takers never stop taking. And so learning to decipher who's there for me and versus who's there at the proximity to what I can give them or what they have access to because they know me
Mm.
has changed the game. Um, but I start off this conversation series every time with these first two questions, and then I ask the last question to every guest. And who are you outside of the professional highlights I read in your bio?
Well, thank you for again having me on the show. I really
Yeah.
appreciate the shift. I love how it is shifting mindsets and perceptions. But to answer your question, who am I outside of my professional highlights? I always answer this question when asked the same way. It's a something I wrote in my journal. I'm just a boy blooming wildly.
Mm.
I think that as a child, I always had this infectious curiosity and sense of wonder. And outside of work, I'm always eager to learn. One of my superpowers is that I'm never bored. I am never bored. There's always a book to read. There's always a coffee shop to explore. There's always a conversation to have. There's always something to clean in the apartment. And outside of work, I feel like I'm just another shade of brown striving towards success,
Mm.
and
You're
what I
also you're also the father of my fur baby, my fur niece, London.
hold up, we didn't sign no adoption papers. What you mean
Yeah,
you the father?
I meant to say my fur niece, so my paw niece. Paw few has a better ring to it. Dior is
Yeah.
my paw feud, London is my paw niece.
Yes.
I'm the cutest little Frenchie, and she always gets so excited. Y'all, if you know me, you know I don't like animals. But the exception to that rule are my paw fews and my paw nieces. So if you are part of my bio or chosen family and you have animals, I love the animals like they're my nieces and nephews.
Yes. London is a little rebellious princess. So.
She thinks that's her queen of a daddy.
Ooh. I know where you sleep. Remember that.
Literally.
But yeah, I mean, just to kind of wrap that question up,
Yeah.
I'm just like everybody else. I want
Yeah.
to feel loved. I want to feel connected. I want to be able to pay my bills and stay moisturized.
Okay.
And hopefully aging gracefully. And from the looks of this camera, it is working.
It
Yeah.
is working. I'm not gonna tell you I'm not gonna tell people their age, but let me tell you, Rick does not look anywhere near his age.
I am pre-internet. Thank you very much.
Um, yeah, we're all pre-internet, but I came up a little younger than you.
Yeah, I was first. It's okay. You waited.
Yeah, I waited. But also old enough where you had to learn how to write cursive. So I'm like last generation before we all went to doom with technology. But yes, I've been dying. I've always been I Whenever I'm interviewing someone I know well, I'm always kind of thinking about how you're going to answer this next question because
Okay.
we have so many conversations as a group of friends
Hmm.
that I always think I know a little bit about what you're going to say, and then sometimes people surprise me, and so I want to know what is your personal concept of resistance and resilience?
Oh. Are you the police?
No,
Okay.
I am not the narcs.
Okay. Um,
Well, you know I'm from the hood. Stop playing. We don't do police over here.
I don't know. This is a recorded situation, evidence,
We have live. This
my
is
side.
shot live. This is going to be treated live. So yes, you know. Why?
Several IDs that I use depending on what jurisdiction I'm in. No, I'm joking. Oh,
Start rumors like that because people start trying to find stuff. He's just joking, y'all. He has a wicked sense of humor.
no. So, I mean, personal concept of resistance, the power of authenticity. You hear me? I grew up in a space that was heavily rooted in Christian ideology. I also come from a military family, but the nuance of that was like I had six generations alive. I got to meet my great great grandmother.
Hmm.
And all of those family members that were around for my early developmental phases were women.
Hmm.
And what's interesting is pre puberty, I saw these women as symbols of strength. I saw them as symbols of endearment and perseverance. But then when puberty happened and the boy queen started blossoming, then all of a sudden that Christian doctrine became this weapon. And so
Hmm.
for me, a concept of resistance and resilience is being able to bloom in those spaces of darkness and suffocation, to
Hmm.
not dim your light, to not dim your color. I always wanted to be the type of gay man that I never saw growing up. A man that could walk into any space, whether it was the deli or the bodega or the Michelin star restaurant or the third pew in the church,
Mm,
and watch as everybody's, booty clenches and their pearls clutch or their faces kind of do that tense when they sense something is not appropriate in their eyes enter the room. I always wanted to be the type of gay man that would have a level of finesse,
mm,
whose head could be held high in every space,
mm,
could be connected to the drug dealer, the prostitute, the nun, the doctor, the lawyer, and still have the same consistent brand integrity across the board.
yeah,
I never saw that growing up.
yeah.
To me, resilience is not just persevering, it's persevering proudly,
Mm,
where you have scars. I do.
yeah,
But
we
the
all.
scars don't become the lens by which I project my pain onto other people.
Mm,
That's what resilience looks like to me. And finally, resistance is just showing up.
yeah,
Show up every day.
yeah,
Show up every day with a level of momentum, right?
yeah.
I know why I exist. I exist because one, God don't make no junk.
Okay.
Two, I come from good stock. And three, there's somebody younger than me,
Mm,
some small kid, maybe in my family, maybe in my orbit, that's looking at me and seeing how I show up. And I, in my entire expression, am the book that they are studying from as they become an adult. So, what type of example and role model am I going to give?
yeah,
Yes, everybody can be fabulous, right? Yes, everybody can be all those surface level forms of expression. But what
yeah.
are we really teaching the next generation? What are we really teaching them? Are we teaching them to be complacent? Are we
Mm,
teaching them to be performative? Are we
mm,
teaching them a level of spiritual obedience that does nothing but put them on a slow trajectory towards their own demise? Fuck
mm,
that.
yeah,
That is what resilience and that's what resistance looks like for me.
yeah. I love that. Um, One thing about Rig that I love, he and I both kind of grew up in the church, both have a certain degree of religious trauma, and our different relationship, I think, we're now as adults with spirituality and our faith. But one thing about Rig is you hold people with such love and tenderness,
Mm.
and yet you speak in such a way. Because he was part of my birthday pour-in activity, y'all, and I boohoo cried. The first thought that was the most uncomfortable 30 minutes of my life. It wasn't even 30 minutes, but it was so uncomfortable. I struggled to receive, as you know.
You handled it well.
I thought I handled it well.
You took it without lube.
Rig! Oh my god. I'm keeping it in there because I value authenticity, but Jesus. Now you have me blasphemous, Lord. Okay. That just caught me off guard. But the point I'm making was trying to make Jesus. This is worse than me and Daniel's conversation about trans guys. All right. Anyways, different conversation. I remember you're at this porn activity and you start to speak. And then I start boohoo crying because you have a very pastoral way of speaking, and you're just really good with words. And I remember going to Puerto Rico with you because he also, for y'all who watched Daniel's episode, Ray was part of that small group of people I went to Puerto Rico with for my birthday. And I'll never forget, we were just you and I at the airport going home. And you had said, I saw a side of you I've never seen before. And that's going to be the subject matter of my newsletter this week, going out this week. When you said, it almost felt as if I saw a regressed version of you going back into the closet.
Mhm.
And I've thought about that a lot over the last few days as I prepare to go back to the island on Wednesday for a work trip. And I said to myself, this was God's plan all along. He wanted me to go to Puerto Rico for my birthday weekend and get that initial fear and anxiety out so
Mhm.
I can go back in my fullness.
Mhm.
And having you there and having you remind me of those things. So I've been out of the closet since I was 14 years old, right? Like, the closet at this point has always been about my wardrobe, not about my sexuality.
Mm.
And so, in many ways, to feel like I went back in the closet just temporarily in small ways felt so counter to how you see me and know me and how I try to live. And it was such a reminder that even in our healing journey, and the things that we inherit from family, that shit can be so regressive.
Hmm.
And that brings me to my next question, I think, beautifully, which is around your family. You are, again, one of the coolest creatives I know, and you have a powerful story reflected in a documentary entitled Speaking Out, where you talk about your upbringing, your relationship with your family, and your faith.
Hmm.
Can you share more about the documentary and why you wanted to tell that part of your story? Because I remember going to the screening in Atlanta and just weeping and weeping and weeping. And for those of you who know and watch this show, you know I'm a crybaby. But this documentary was so well done. They told three different stories. Of
Hmm.
course, I'm a little biased. I preferred your story over the other two. Um, but there was something about knowing a part of you and then seeing that documentary, and suddenly it made sense. The version of who you've become that I've gotten to know, it makes sense. The wanderlust, the person who just goes, and in many ways, you have roots, but your roots are loosely tied, right? And then you're able to get up and go and build community and family everywhere you go. And when all you ever want to do is get out,
Yeah,
right? That becomes part of your DNA. And so tell us more about the documentary and why you spoke out.
sure. So, speaking out, as Mark expressed, is a docu-style expression of feeling from three different perspectives of trauma. There is sexual trauma, there is spiritual trauma, there's mental health. And each one of us kind of give an anecdotal first person account of moments that helped shape us.
Mhm.
My particular part of the documentary talks about the spiritual trauma, and it takes you through a journey. And John Solis is the director. He did a phenomenal job of capturing this.
Yeah.
But the story is supposed to raise a mirror that you then look at yourself, but not at yourself at the surface. You look at the stuff that you have conveniently folded into the depths of yourself that you then deny. And it's almost like the traumatic seeds that we bury, they do take root inside us.
Yeah.
And the documentary, for me, it was the one time in my life where I felt like I could be a little selfish and really just kind of share what was going on inside me. When you grow up in my type of environment, you're told and you're taught to conform. You're taught to do your chores, get good grades. I even said in the documentary, I'm not getting a girl pregnant. So, but there's something really significant that happens when your family does not embrace you, when you get to that bridge of identity, when you utter the words, I'm gay, and you see that recoiling and that visceral disgust that then is amplified and justified by a very archaic weaponizing Christian ideology, right? That created a moment inside me where the self doubt became self hate.
Mm.
And there's a moment where the hate, all the voices that are going on in your head as you're navigating that, there's a moment where the hate starts sounding like you.
Mm.
Hate starts sounding like your voice from the inside.
Yes. But it's other scripts. I talked about that recently. I said to someone, I had to realize that I was hearing my own voice.
Hmm.
It was a script I hadn't written about myself.
And catch what you just said. There's a script of hate that all of us feel,
Yeah.
right? This is what I hate, the fact that so many of us, we bond over trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
bond over trauma because trauma that may look different for each individual person, but it's the same ingredients.
Yeah.
Rejection, it's a downplaying, it's a discarding, it's
Lack
a
of
judgment,
belonging.
It's all these ingredients that then become these very personal recipes that then we slowly intake day by day, and to the point where it poisons us.
Mhm.
And had there not been a change in the documentary, I'll let you see it, I'm not going to tell you it, I could have been another statistic.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I have felt important in sharing this documentary, again, I said it in a seminar once, there's no damn way that I'm the first gay person in my family. No fucking way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anybody that came before me, there's no evidence of them.
Yeah.
There's no conversations about them. There were no photos. It's like they didn't exist. I'd be damned if that was going to be me.
Yeah.
That's why I shared the documentary. And
Yeah.
that is why, when it comes to our connection, Mark,
Mm.
you just mentioned when you were in Puerto Rico,
Mhm.
I saw you do this,
Yeah.
and I had a visceral reaction because I know who you are when you don't feel unsafe.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy to hear that as you go back,
Yeah.
not only are you equipped with the armor of self-awareness,
Yeah.
but you are going to lean into that space and allow those young people in Puerto Rico waiting to see you as an example. Remember, they're learning from you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're going to go there and
Yeah.
give them a different form of expression that they can absorb and identify with. So I'm
Yeah.
proud.
Yeah. Thank you. I think had you not said that, I don't think I would have been able to regulate and prepare myself mentally for this next trip
But
around.
even in the regulation, I had to give you grace because at first I was pissed at you.
Oh yeah, let me tell you something about Rig, y'all. Let me tell you about Rig. He will push you and sometimes it's a little bit bullyish, um, because he loves hard. And so when he loves you, you know he loves you because he's pushing you and he's pushing you, he's holding you to account. And sometimes you just want to say to him, Mofo, I'm not wearing makeup this trip. Well, I'm not like, you at some point you just have to like push back against his pushback, and then he'll like, okay, let me give him grace. Right? Because it became this tension point between us where right, and that was not about my expression at that. It was about me being able to receive and letting people pay for certain things because it's my birthday trip. And I struggle with that, right? And we talked about that briefly about how, you and I grew up in very similar economics growing up. I would say Oprah said there's poor and there's poor, right?
Mhm.
And I grew up poor. And so to even be where I'm at in our career, to be where we are in our careers as men of color who are gay or queer, to have the things that we have had and continue to have stacked against us and
Mhm.
still be where we are professionally. I mean, the fact that I'm even alive
Mhm.
is against the odds, right?
The fact that we both are alive is
Yes,
the odds.
right? That we survived some really difficult things, right? But the
Mhm.
fact that I had to survive birth at five and a
Mhm.
half, right? The 1 pound thing, I didn't choose that. I didn't choose to have to fight from the moment I was born simply to exist.
Mhm.
And it feels like every day of my 35 years, I've had to fight to live. Whether I was fighting depression, whether I
Uh-huh.
was fighting bigots or online trolls or my own mother at times.
Mhm.
We had to fight. And what I'm learning and what people like you have helped me learn is that we deserve to indulge in the goodness and the bounty of our fruit and our labor, our harvest. Because I often struggle with that.
I mean, I get why you struggle,
Yeah.
but I'll give you this, Mark.
Yes.
Those, those of us who have been hurt the deepest
Yeah.
also possess the deepest capacity for love.
Yeah.
It's a type of spiritual alchemy, right? And I
Mm.
know you're going to know what I'm talking about. And maybe there's somebody that's listening to this podcast that's currently in this moment. There's a point where you have to change the pain into purpose. And I know that sounds like a little Hallmark and trendy, but it is just that simple.
Mhm.
When you stop seeing your pain as a weight and instead see it as a cauldron, baby, the courage that comes out of that,
Yeah.
the fire,
Yeah.
the tenacity, the fucking fury,
Yeah.
where you refuse to be discarded, dismissed, and downplayed.
Yeah.
Simply existing already makes you a target.
Right. Right.
Why not make it fucking fab?
Right. And it's so funny, and that's why I think I was so caught off guard by how regressive the trip to the Isla was, because I always told my mother, if I'm gonna die, I want to go in glory. I want to go look at my fabulous self, right? And it's funny, it's been over a month almost since I've texted my mother. Thank you for wishing me happy birthday, and then happy Mother's Day is the next day. And I've gotten no contact with my mom. It's been about a little over a month and a half now. And I did that for myself. I did that
Correct.
for myself because I don't like who I become in her presence.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. And thankfully, Mark,
Yeah.
the family that is the bridge into this life is not the vehicle family that you
Right.
have to ride in out this life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To be fair, I have sectors of my family that have been extraordinarily supportive, my sister being one of them. But I also have an amazing group of chosen family, which Rig is part of.
But I
And
also want you to think about this, if I
yeah,
have to interject this moment.
yeah, yeah,
There comes a point in time where being who we are as people
yeah.
is sometimes a daily act of forgiveness.
Mm,
I learned how to forgive my family for the shit that they did because I didn't look at them through the lens of what they did to me or what was wrong with them. I looked at the lens of what's happening for them too. Because let's be clear, when you're the gay kid, you detonate into the family.
yeah,
you and then people either embrace or they shield or they try to detonate back. But at
yeah.
the end of the day, we're all flawed people. This doesn't
Absolutely.
excuse anything that your family has done or my family.
Right.
But when we get to the point where we can look at them and go, yeah, that shit happened, but fill in the blank.
But yeah, and you know what? To be fair, I was there for a while with her. I was there,
Mhm.
and then something happened that I can't really talk about because it's not part of my story to share. But it just triggered something in me, and I had to come to the grips with the fact that I've been grieving someone still alive for most of my life.
Yeah.
And I think that I need some separation, some space in
Mhm.
order to fully grieve the woman she was.
Mhm.
Because my mother was my everything when I was a young, disabled child.
Mhm.
My mom was at every doctor's appointment. She made sure I got all the special treatment I needed in school for therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy. My mother was my biggest advocate. And so to have my biggest advocate become a version of a person I don't recognize
Yes.
has been such a pain point for me. But not to derail just too much about my mother and I, but I want to switch gears a little bit about the work that you do. And we won't be naming the company you work at for obvious reasons, but I want to talk about the work you do because it's so unique.
Sure.
And you're one of the few people, you're the only person I actually know in my professional orbit who does what you do.
Mhm.
And it's a blend of marketing, brand identity, operations, design, facilities. Like it's such a unique blend of things. And so I want to ask you, you spend your days creating spaces that embody an organization's brand while taking into account the geographic location of the space and how it informs the people engaging with it. How does that shift the experience for people, and why does that matter so much for you? And to give
Mhm.
people some context, you work in the healthcare space. I just want to talk a little bit about the work that you do in designing spaces that allow people to feel more welcomed in it.
Absolutely. So, infectious diseases, sexually transmitted infectious diseases, there's a lot of stigma that comes when you're the girl or guy that got. A lot of people come into the spaces that I helped curate with a lot of baggage, a lot of misconceptions. In spaces that traditionally exist that do this similar work, they're very sterile, cold, clinical. It almost kind of feels like this conveyor belt experience, which is very dehumanizing.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to a design minds are always trying to solve a problem. The
Mhm.
problem is STIs aren't going anywhere. People still gonna have sex, they still gonna have their types of sex, and there's still gonna be transmission. So
Mhm.
how can we, my design mind, how can we create an experience that's both surprising, embracing and affirming,
Yeah.
professional, and also worthwhile.
Yeah.
That's literally the process that I go for designing some of these healthcare spaces.
Yeah.
Not only is it conducive for patient and provider relationships, but when people walk in expecting an urgent care feel or
Mm.
a state health department feel, what
Yeah.
they get is this community center. They see pictures of people that are smiling, and
Yeah.
those people are the providers, their other patients, their staff, their admin, they're community advocates. They're
Yeah.
of all different ages, shades, tones, creeds. This is people work. And my
Yeah.
ultimate goal is that people are supporting people. Yes, getting an infection is never easy.
Yeah.
Yes, getting infected with something that's not curable but treatable and requires chronic care can feel like a daily reminder of a mistake.
Yeah.
And so, design mind, brand mind, how do I ensure that when somebody walks into our space, they're not being hit, they're not being bitch slapped, they're not
Yeah.
being judged, they're not being psychologically punished with a
Yeah.
very cold feeling. They're
Yeah.
being embraced, they're being connected, they're being engaged, and they're being supported.
Yeah. And it also lessens, at least from my own experiences, because I've gone to various clinics throughout my life. I've lived in New York City, I lived in the Bay Area, I grew up in Jersey, born in Miami, but now I live in Atlanta. So I've been around the block in terms of like community spaces and healthcare spaces. And there is something, and I've had a chance to experience some of the spaces that you've designed. And it, the moment you walk in, it doesn't feel so clinical. And so suddenly it helps lessen the shame.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and also lessens for me a bit of the anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because suddenly it just feels like we're being responsible adults taking care of our health, right? Because that's really at the core what you should be. You should be a responsible adult or person taking care of yourself. And I will say as someone, who's on PrEP, which is a daily regimen you can take to prevent contracting HIV. I used to be afraid to talk about that publicly because I felt like there's a lot of stigma attached to being on PrEP, and there's a lot of assumptions that go with that. I
Mm-hmm.
have never, since I've started PrEP, I have never been on top of my sexual health the way I am now,
But and
right?
see, this is the importance of that, Mark. This
Yeah,
is what I'm talking about. You just said when I come into the space, I feel like I'm being a responsible adult. The reason why we have such a saturation of infection rates is because people don't come. They
yeah,
will justify themselves out of an itch, a drip, a burn. They
yeah,
will justify themselves about it not being a priority. And it's the unchecked infections that are currently permeating the community
yeah,
that are the reason why we have such surveillance. If more people felt courageous enough to come
yeah,
and get the care that they need, then maybe we could actually counter
yeah.
narrative this
Yeah, and that's why I felt comfortable to say that right now because I think that there's been a lot of work done in recent year, and in the last I would say 6 to 12 months, to help shift the narrative around PrEP being just a gay man preventative drug, and PrEP
correct.
for everyone because everyone can benefit. And whenever I meet girlfriends in Atlanta who live in Atlanta who are straight identified,
Hmm.
I always ask them, "Have you heard of PrEP? Are you on PrEP? Have you considered PrEP? This is why I think you should consider it."
Hmm.
Because stereotypes aside, Atlanta as a city is one of the meccas or one of the highest concentrated of new infections of HIV.
Hmm.
And if you're dating a straight man, if you're dating any man, period, you don't know what he's doing, right? And it,
Look at the community now. Everybody's fluid. Everybody's sleeping with everybody, whether y'all want to acknowledge it or not.
right, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, and women too. I just want to
Yes.
clarify, men. But I say that to my straight girlfriends because a lot of times they don't know about PrEP, and if they know about PrEP, they see it as a gay person's drug, right? And I know that PrEP is not just for gay men
It's not.
or men who sleep with men, to get more technical with the term,
PrEP is for
but
anybody that is
PrEP for
sexually
anybody
active.
who's sexually active.
Yep.
And I know that for trans men who sleep with men, there's a variation in which PrEP they can take and all these things. So please do reach out to your medical provider, reach out to your local clinics, and find out information about how you can access PrEP. Um, because whether you live in Atlanta or not, being preventative protects you, to your point, from contracting something that yes is treatable and livable. You people can live and thrive with HIV. Um, But if you can avoid getting a chronic illness, if you can avoid having to take certain things or do certain things every single day, why wouldn't you want to? Right? Just because you can thrive and live with it doesn't mean you have to live with it, right? Doesn't mean you have to track it. And you can be proactive. And I think that's what I love about that work that you do, because often you are someone behind the scenes,
Yes.
right? You have done things for the city of Atlanta. You have done things across this country and around the world that people who may know you may not even realize that you did it, right? I can see a rig touch when I walk into a space now because I've studied you, I've gotten to know you. It's like, oh, that was great. Hell, I
Yes.
even inspired one of the installations you did. I was like, oh, I see the inspiration came well from my admired wall. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I love
Yes.
that about you. I love that you are, because to know you is to know that you are a force.
Yes.
And while this documentary puts you front of stage, while this podcast is putting you front and center, most of the things you do every day, people will never be able to attribute to you or be able to say it was you.
I love the idea that I can be felt more
Yeah.
than I can be known.
Yes. And that's why I wanted you on the podcast. That people need to know about your brilliance, and you are also a brilliant visual artist. I remember that was my favorite part about going to your house for the first time. It was seeing the artwork and getting to see that side of you. Because I'm just like, you need to be doing more of that. Like, I want to see more of that in like galleries.
Coming.
Coming in my house, like, I want an artwork, original artwork for my house. I will purchase it. I don't care. So I want a piece from Art by Ricky, and I want an Art by Rig. And so, yeah, I just had to have you on the podcast to talk about that.
Thank you.
So thank you for sharing about that. I know we're running, I think we're over time. And so I want to honor your time, just simply ask, what do you hope to shift in society through your work?
Very simple, Mark. I hope that for the short time that I am allowed on this earth, and the efforts and the opportunities that I am blessed with, I hope that first I'm a good steward over those opportunities.
Hmm.
And then the goal that I hope is to push people from a pre-contemplative phase to a contemplative phase, trans-theoretical model behavioral change. Simply put, I hope that my
Give
life
me more detail.
and story remind people that the monsters aren't so bad, the mountains aren't so great, and it's never that dark that you can't.
Say that last sentence again, because I accidentally spoke over you.
I hope that my expression in life shows people that the monsters aren't so bad, the mountains aren't so great, and it's never so dark that you can't push through. Because at the end of the day, we're all just people blooming wildly.
Yeah, out here in the streets. Thank you, Rick. Thank you for saying yes to my invitation. Thank you for being front and center. I know that's not your MO. Y'all be sure to follow Rig. Actually, I don't think your social media is public, is it?
It is. It's
Oh,
just intended to be a little, I make people work for it.
okay. Yeah. Listen, everything with Rig, you have to work for it. Okay, it's not just you got to earn it. Okay? I'll just
Are you
leave
trying
that
to
there.
Instagram? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I was gonna link your social media to this. Do you not
You
do
can.
that?
You can. Yeah.
We'll talk about that offline. But yes, because I know sometimes he's a little different with his little interesting with his
I
social
am
media.
not an open to all categories, so just be glad you made it through the door.
Okay. Oh, honey, I think my stars every day. I know you. I get you friends. Be not mistaken. Um, I never take that for granted. I always tell people, especially young leaders and young people, they always get obsessed with their social media followers. And
Mhm.
I'm at a little over 5,000. Whatever. But I don't pay for advertising. I don't pay for followers. And I said, you know what? I don't own those social media profiles. Those can be snatched, hacked, and taken away in a moment's notice. But you know what I do own? This device
Mhm.
and the contacts on this phone.
Mhm.
And I said, don't mistake my follower count for the breadth of my network. I said I
Correct.
have people in real life I can contact.
Correct.
And I never take that for granted. Because when I call and when I ask for a favor, like, would you be on my podcast? It's rarely ever a straight out no. It's always a matter of yes, but when.
It did take him 3 times to ask me though. So,
That's because you're so busy you don't be answering your text messages or phone calls or emails like that.
why are you trying to reach for my hair? It's only a little bit up here. Don't
Okay.
do
I was behaving today. You had to pull a little. It took you 3 times because he's hard to reach. But also, my person probably took forever to follow up.
it. Baby, at the end of the call, he trying to give this top energy, y'all. I don't know why he trying to reach. He trying to
Why
give
you?
this
You know
energy.
what? I'm not even entertain that with a response because this is a professional
He's
podcast.
reaching. See?
You're doing too much, man. I love you though. All right, y'all. Before he gets carried away even more, thank y'all for being here. Please be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to the Shift Stories of Resistance and Resilience. This is a project that is a labor of love. I have no major sponsors, no sponsors. Period. I have no funding for this. It's all self-produced, self-funded, and it costs money. But you know what? It doesn't cost you nothing. It costs you $0 to share, to subscribe, to like this podcast. And so, if you like the shift, if you like the people I bring on, the conversations I have, then support. More than ever, when the economy is doing terrible, when you want to be there for your friends and family and people you appreciate, don't wait till they die.
Yeah.
And like I said, it costs you nothing. You know, it's always surprising to me how many people in my life claim they love me and support my work, but actually never actually support the work. It's like they're like, oh, and then suddenly when you blow up, suddenly, oh yeah, I knew you when, or I know you, or I no, save that energy. Support me before I become something in your mind. Support it because I think I have great conversations with great people. So thank you for being here, Rig. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for holding me with love and accountability, and for always being a sassy ass queen. I love you dearly.
You
All
done
right,
got it.
y'all. Before we start the
Pop.
first
She
shame
got,
back.
yep, I'm about to come. You cut right now.
Y'all take care. Be well. Like, rate, subscribe, and be sure to follow Rig and check out the documentary Speaking Out. I will find out where we can link it to the show notes. All right, y'all.
Slide
Until
into
next time.
DMs. Got you.
He's single, so you can also slide into his DMs if you try to date him. Okay, bye.